Hello and welcome once again to Living and Active. Welcome to the woefully undernourished playlist rolling towards eternity. I start thinking sometimes that I should probably have more content that is done for this playlist, the Rolling Towards Eternity, the disability specific playlist meant to educate and encourage other people with disabilities, uh, especially brothers and sisters in grace, but also those who have not yet given their life to the Lord so that they can taste and see that He is good by the witness of one such as myself who depend on Him minute by minute, second by second for His grace and mercy and reminders of His faithfulness. Those of you who are more familiar with me and this channel and the channels that have come before, you probably recognize the flush in my face and my broken pattern of speech. I'm not having a great day. But if I'm going to give a fair representation of what it is I'm speaking on, I think I need to stop being part of the problem, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But for those of you who are more familiar with my work, what I do, you will recognize the fact that I have in some earbuds. I'm not using them as a microphone anymore. I tried that experiment for a while, and there are a lot of videos on this channel that you can barely hear because I did that. I don't know why I was thinking it would work, but I figured the inline microphone would be enough of a pickup. It wasn't. And what I'm actually doing is I have my camera set up here that I'm talking to, and I have my headphones going off over yonder to my laptop, where I have some very quiet, very quiet lo-fi music playing to compete with the ringing in my ears, because between the two, when I'm in migraine mode, I would much it's easier to get through things when the only audible input that I have is not uh, the tinnitus, however you prefer to say that. So I'm listening to instrumentals called lo-fi. It's low fidelity. It's supposed to be like just uh, mimicking like analog recording techniques or whatever. Um, really light, gentle beats. Um, music. It's none of that binaural healing frequency stuff. It's not that. It's actual music. But the beat of the music is it's a slow tempo. It's nice. It's defined. And like I said, I'm playing it very, very, very quietly. But I can't let you guys hear it or I'll get copyright strike. You know, all of this is supposed to be duty free. I don't want to take the chance, so I'm not going to. So I have the music playing for my benefit. I'm sorry it doesn't benefit you, but you can listen to whatever you like to listen to as we go on. So The reason why I need to apologize to all of my fellow disabled people, is I bought into the party line over this last spring and summer. I was all excited about being the quote unquote misbehaving cripple that I actually became the poster child for the problem with the narrative of the big, brave, hero disabled person that's not letting their disabilities define them or hinder them or whatever. Uh, Overcoming their limitations or whatever. And I've spoken somewhat on this in the past, but nowhere near enough. And I think what has happened over this last spring and summer, in my effort to misbehave, quote unquote, to defeat expectations, is that I was actually buying into the expectations of people who have no idea what it is to live like this, to be doing something productive or challenging or whatever at all times, for them to look at and say, oh, what a good little cripple. So, to actually be a misbehaving cripple, I'm going to start by repenting of that former attitude, by acknowledging how dangerous, destructive, and dishonest it is. And I'm going to return to speaking for and advocating for the ability for my fellow disabled people to be disabled, to admit that the reason they are disabled is not because the world isn't built for them, it's because there are things they cannot do. There are things that they should not do, even if they think they can do it, because it would be incredibly dangerous for them to attempt. And I bring up these examples all the time when I do talk about this. It's the wheels guy, the dude that takes his wheelchair. He's fully paralyzed, he's a complete paraplegic. He takes his wheelchair into skate parks and does all these incredibly stupid things with them. Like he can't also break his neck on top of whatever his spinal injury is at the moment. Um, or just damage an incredibly expensive piece of medical equipment, as to serve as an inspiration for able-bodied and disabled alike. I'm filming this today when I'm having these difficulties because uh, I have been guilty over the last few months of shying away from doing so, waiting until I am better composed and I'm not struggling so much, when I feel better, when I think I can get through it. And I am grateful that the Lord has allowed some of the analytical hermeneutics content, those get very long, to go with as few interruptions, uh, as there are. But in terms of actually being a blessing to other people And doing what I started this channel to do is just to show disabled people how they can every day take God at His word in every single case and instance, in every single circumstance, and live daily in reliance on Him. That's very hard to do if I'm not bringing the message on the days where it's hard to do. So that's a hypocritical attitude on my part, and I confess it as such, and ask you guys to forgive me because it's not the right attitude to have. My dealings with the disabled, they keep calling them accessibility groups and ability groups, but it's groups of disabled people who are trying to make some sort of social change. And both of the groups that I have experience with absolutely hate the term disabled or disability. I accidentally called the big mobility aid expo series of expos that they have in North America. The um, I don't even remember what it's called. It's called Ability something, Ability Expo or Abilities Expo, whatever. And I accidentally called it the Disability Expo, and I got some fairly nasty looks. Um, one organization stopped talking to me immediately after I reminded them that you can't legislate decency in people. And the harder you try, the more you're just going to make people resent the people you're trying to protect with all of this legal activism and political activism. And I said that I was more interested in finding other disabled people and sharing with them that they can and should put their faith in God to defend them, to protect them, and provide for them what they need to sustain them when it feels like everyone else has abandoned them. And I was immediately abandoned by a group, a very powerful group of uh, disability advocates. Um, Literally within minutes or hours of me saying it, I didn't hear from anybody from that organization at all after I sent that last email saying that we have to start helping disabled people by coming alongside them through the things where the political activism and everything else are failing them. That is their daily lives. What they go through, experience, feel, suffer from, and with every single day. You can't write legislation for that. Those are the parts, those are the things that go into being a disabled person that have nothing to do with how the world around you is built. There's the isolation and loneliness that comes from uh, very few, if any, living human being around you has anything close to this similar experience to you. Uh, there's the desperations sometimes for any kind of relief from chronic pain or sleep deprivation or just frustration from so many normal things that people take for granted in their daily lives that you struggle with. Um, and how to honestly address those things without becoming bitter, without um, covering oneself in the mantle of victimhood, but looking at them honestly and equally honestly approaching the solution. The solution is the knowledge that God, our Father in heaven, if you belong to Him in Christ, is faithful. He has said what He has said, and He does what He says in all things. The failings of humans to come to our aid and rescue, or to provide relief, is not a testimony against God's faithfulness. It's a testimony of God's truthfulness regarding the ability of humans to do what He says only He can do and He wants to do. So I am going to try to set aside my own, I guess, wishful thinking about these things, and I'm going to. I almost didn't record this video today. It's a little bit of a rabbit trail, but I almost didn't record this video today because of the contrast in how my most recent videos and other playlists have gone. They've gone very well. I'm very grateful for that. But I also don't want to give the false impression that um, I'm not still going through some very real things every day, um, some very heavy things. Um, so I was sitting here. It took me an hour. It took me an hour to get the room set up to shoot this video, and I almost said, "Well, forget it. I'm just going to put everything away and and roll around or whatever." And try to figure out some way of entertaining myself. And I realized immediately that that would have been the wrong thing to do. It would have been very selfish to do. I think my problem is I'm trying too hard to keep looking at the camera like I do. I think if I just let myself be in my chair and I don't try to look at the camera to see how I'm framed or whatever, I will be better. Let's test that. Zero. Okay. Anyway, it was worth a shot. Uh, so anyway, as some of you may know, have heard me say this before, my problems come from the speech, the breathing, the swallowing. All of those things are tied to the level of stress on my central nervous system. Currently, I'm actually sitting in my wheelchair and not the office chair because the office chair is $70 and it doesn't have anywhere near the support for my spine that the wheelchair does, which is not $70. And I know better than to try to play chicken with my body when I'm already this far into deep weeds with it. Um, but um, the reminder to get back onto the series and to start doing these videos came from my intentions this morning to just do what I had to do, my to-do list for the day, the necessary things, and then for the rest of the day, just sort of chill out and relax and experiment with my instruments, my amps, and do all the cool little things that I've been telling myself all summer I was going to do if I got time. What actually ended up happening was here are the necessary things that I had to do. I had to wash my dishes from the day before, which would be yesterday. I had to cook and eat a meal. I had to uh, conduct a little bit of grooming and personal hygiene because I hadn't done that in many weeks. So that involved beard trim. Uh, I had to shower. What else? That's it. Dishes, food, hygiene, grooming, and the shower. Those four things. Those were my necessary things that I had to do. Those were my vegetables that I had to eat all of before I could get to the dessert of goofing off with music all day. I posted on the community tab at about 9 o'clock in the morning, I think, that was my plan for the day. Those four things took me easily 2 hours to do. And by the end of it, I was so exhausted. I it literally took me half an hour to wash my face after my shower because I was so fatigued. I barely made it to my hospital bed that I have, and got myself transferred into the bed, and then I had an unintentional um, nap. Uh, for those of you who think that might be like an unexpected power nap in the middle of a lazy afternoon, it's not. It's not pleasant at all. It's not very restful. It's just basically an emergency shutdown for a time. Uh, I woke up from that at about 1:30, and it took me from then until let's see, we are at about 24 minutes into this video. It's currently 4:18. So from 1:30 to just about 4 o'clock, to not quite 4 o'clock, all of that whole time was taken up with going 2 blocks to one store for some milk, coming back with it because my basket on my power assist device is not that big. I got that in reverse order. I went 3 blocks to the dollar store for some things, came back with that, went 2 blocks to my local convenience store, came back with that stuff, got that put away, put my power assist device on the charger, mailed off my internet bill, wrote in the day's expenditures in my checkbook, made some coffee, and That's it. That whole length of time was taken up in those few activities, just like my morning had been eaten up by the four things that I had to do. Deep into pre-migraine and migraine territory already. But I think it is time that we, whom Jesus specifically left instructions to his disciples concerning in Luke 14, just be humble and acknowledge that yes, there is a reason why Jesus told people to look after us. Uh, we are very, very grateful to God for his faithfulness and his ability to provide where humans fail, as they do. But we are we are disabled, and the people who try to say that, like, there's a very famous Ukrainian, I believe, evangelist, missionary, whatever, he has no arms, no legs, he's literally just a torso and a head. Many of you will probably know who I'm talking about. But even he says incorrectly that the only disability is a bad attitude. That is an obvious misstatement. Um, and it's that toxic positivity that leads people into delusions that draw them away from facing even their own realities, much less the realities of other people. Uh, there are many different kinds of disability, and God says he is the one who allows them all for his purposes and his glory. So we cannot deny those things. Just like we can't deny that Jesus said that the poor would always be among us, we cannot deny the fact that God has said that he has made man, and he has made man's eyes to either see or be blind. He's made his tongue to either speak clearly or to stutter. That's scripture. That's God's testimony of himself, and we cannot deny that, and we shouldn't deny that anymore, especially if we are going to help each other to take scripture and the testimony of God in his word at face value, as we should, and as we desperately need to in order to be able to see him and tell others of him without pretense and um, without speaking in fantasies or eccentric language that would lead people to make the claims that you're basing your life and your hopes in your life on fairy tales. We can speak with intelligence, even if with difficulty, and we can honestly tell the truth of things the way God would have us to do. Yes, God intends for his disciples to, his children, to minister to us his grace and blessing and love and faithful provision, but he also has work for us to do. And we're not going to understand the importance of that work if we keep denying the realities of our situation and the uniqueness of the life that God has given to us in his wisdom for his glory and purposes. So I am going to genuinely now settle into the role of the misbehaving cripple, and I'm just going to allow myself to live as a cripple, as a genuinely disabled person that faces the struggles and the hardships, and even so does his best to smile and reach out to others, able bodied, broken bodied, whatever, and tell them that the Lord is good. Come, taste, and see. So, having said that, I'm going to end this video and I'm going to rest before I go through the stuff of uploading it, uh, which might take me a little bit longer today. But um, I am going to try to not see. I mean, I'm going to, before the Lord, I'm going to get better at uh, not trying to fill up my time with so much productive stuff, busy work, that I forsake the necessary and helpful things that can only be done in front of a camera on a platform where anybody could even accidentally, quote unquote, come across beneficial truth. God speaking into their lives, drawing them to the video they need to see, as He can do. But before I sign off, I would like to say that the instruments that I was going to work on today, my hammer, dulcimer, and my harp, they're beautiful instruments. They're lovely. I'm very grateful for them. But they both literally have design features that make them uh, the most reasonable instruments that I would be able to use, even if it's just to mess around and play simple, unwritten, unpublished melodies that no one else will ever hear, just to take joy in something the Lord has allowed me to have for the sake of letting me have joy. That's going to be another video. This one needs to end and get put together so it can go out to wherever it needs to go. So, until next time, if there is a next time, and there might not be, God be with you.